Hello and welcome! Today we are jumping right into a fantastic original story by Daniel Hines. It's called Dog King: The Dog Days of Summer. And let me tell you, it's a tale all about a great leader, a brutal heat wave, and a legendary quest for the perfect swim.
So, let's get the theme song in our heads, shall we? His mother was a dog, his father was a king, so now he's Dog King, and he's king of the dogs. His bite is worse than his bark, 'cause he bites like a shark. He's ruling the streets, and he won't roll over for treats.
All right, so our story kicks off with the one and only Dog King, lounging on his throne, looking out over his kingdom. And it was hot. I mean, hotter than hot. All over the alley, you could just see his loyal subjects stretched out everywhere, panting away under this oppressive summer sun. And this heat, well, it was affecting everyone. You had chocolate labs just drooping, like candy bars left in a hot car. The wiener dogs looked all saggy and wrinkled, like they'd been on a roller grill all day. Even the short-haired dogs were absolutely miserable, and the long-haired dogs, oh, they were practically begging for a shave. But there was one dog who was taking it especially hard, and that was Pickles, Dog King's royal assistant. He gets super dramatic and says, "Dog King, if I don't make it, I want you to have my squeaky duck." He gives all these specific instructions for her care. Then, just as quickly, he takes it all back. "Actually, I'm taking her with me. Forget I said anything." So yeah, the heat was a full-blown crisis, and Dog King knew he had to do something. You've got his subjects just languishing and his royal assistant, Pickles, trying to stick to the day's official business, but it was just so obvious something had to give. A royal order was definitely needed. So Pickles starts running down the royal schedule. First up, the 9:45 bark at birds. Too hot, the king declares. Okay, next, the 10:05 bark at cars. Still too hot. What about the 10:15 bark at each other? The king just sighs. "Pickles, it's too hot to bark at anything." But then, Pickles gets to the very last item, an after-dinner swim at the town pool. Dog King's reaction is immediate. "Yes, perfect! Let's move that up, like to right now." And just like that, the royal order was given. Dog King turns to all the hot, miserable dogs of his kingdom and makes the big announcement. "Friends, we are going swimming." Well, the whole alley just erupted. You had dogs howling, yipping, wagging like crazy. There's this one old terrier who spun around so fast he got dizzy. Everyone was so excited. So, they left their alley kingdom behind, and the whole pack began this epic journey toward the pool. And they were all just fueled by this incredible hope of cool, refreshing water. Man, what a trek! They crossed a quiet street, then a really busy one. They had to wade through a muddy stream and somehow navigate their way through an outdoor mall. The whole time they walked in this long, panting line, with Dog King, of course, leading the way. And Pickles? He was riding in style on the back of this super good-natured St. Bernard. When they finally get there, they can see paradise right through the chain-link fence. We're talking bright blue water, coolers just full of snacks, and patches of grass that were just begging to be peed on. It was pure dog heaven. But standing right in their way was their very first obstacle. A human, with this splotchy white cream on his nose and a whistle hanging around his neck. So Dog King marches right up to the gate, but the human blocks his way and says something, well, something none of them could understand. Dog King tried to explain, that they don't speak human, but all the gatekeeper heard was bark, bark, bark. So the human puts the whistle to his lips and blows this incredibly loud, piercing blast that just sent the dogs scattering, their poor sensitive ears ringing. Defeated, they all head back to the alley, panting like crazy from the run, and of course the sweltering heat. But Dog King, he wasn't giving up, not a chance. He settles back onto his throne and declares that he knows exactly why they weren't allowed in. So what's his big theory? They weren't wearing bathing suits, of course! It was so obvious! The dogs sprang into action, and pretty soon a scrappy mutt named Callie finds a pair of faded plaid shorts. A few dogs tried them on, but they finally found the perfect fit, this fuzzy, bunny-loving Pitbull named Rambo. So, Rambo heads for the pool, with the shorts wagging wildly behind him because, well, they hadn't cut a hole for his tail. But it turns out the shorts weren't working. The gatekeeper sees him coming, blocks his way again, and blows that whistle even louder than before. Rambo comes trudging back to the alley, totally defeated. But Dog King, he already has another idea. To get past the gatekeeper, he announces, we need to become the gatekeeper. The missing ingredient? The nose cream. And he says he's got just the thing. 10 minutes later, Rambo is marching back to the gate, this time with a big old glob of mayonnaise spread across his nose. The heat, though, was making that mayonnaise smell incredibly delicious. Rambo's chanting to himself, "I'm not going to lick my nose." But then a slow drip rolls down his snout right onto his tongue. And that was it. The taste was so good he just completely lost control, throws himself on the ground and starts wildly licking the mayo off his face. So, needless to say, he was not allowed in.
At this point, the other dogs are all whining in dismay. It just seemed hopeless. But Dog King? He stays totally calm. "Your king," he says, "has saved the best idea for last." He explains this observation he made. "When we first got there, I noticed everyone inside was running and yelling. I think that was our mistake. We weren't running or yelling. This time, we need to do both."
And so, for one last time, Dog King led his subjects back across the streets and through that mall. This attempt, however, this was going to be very different.
Their strategy was totally different this time. Instead of a neat little line, they ran as this wild, happy group, and their barks and howls of joy were just echoing off the buildings. When they reached the pool, the humans inside heard this massive clamor of fast-moving pups. The gatekeeper yells, "Everybody stay calm!" But another human just screams, "It's a pack of wild dogs, everybody run!" And they did.
With all the humans scattering, even the gatekeeper completely abandoned his post. Dog King and his pack didn't even slow down. They just poured right through that open gate and jumped straight into the pool. Splash after splash went up as all these furry bodies just plunged into the cool water. Pickles did the shaky little swan dive. Rambo crashed in with a cannonball. And Dog King, he hit the water with a belly flop so enormous it soaked everybody all over again. A little while later, Dog King paddled over and finds Pickles just floating by on a raft. He's got sandwich crests in one cup holder and some kind of fancy drink in the other. Pickles just looks at his king and says with pure, total contentment, "Now this is what I call a dog day."
And that was it. They swam for hours and hours. And as the sun finally started to set, they all got out and walked home, tired, wet, and completely, utterly happy. And Dog King, as always, was leading the way.